How would you define this term, and how have you seen it manifest among Western students?
Well, I don't know what Trungpa Rinpoche himself meant with it, but to me, spiritual materialism is any efforts on the spiritual path which is motivated by the ego, and that the ego wants to be a bigger, better, more special I, ever so spiritual, and definitely enlightened, a big enlightened me. And any spiritual practice which is based on the idea, even though we don't admit it to ourselves, of becoming more enlightened and more spiritual is spiritual materialism. That's why I think the Tibetans emphasize so much in the beginning and all through and at the end the whole question of bodhicitta. That we are not doing this for the sake of ourselves. This is not so that I can get enlightened. Because, as I said, I can never get enlightened. It's so that one somehow is in a position where, this will be of benefit to all the other beings, even though there are no other beings to be benefited. That motivation, that whole turn in the consciousness away from making me happier, more compassionate, more spiritually evolved, to everything that one does, every breath one takes, is for the sake of others. When that happens, when that turn really happens, then that is a genuine spiritual path. And until then, it's all spiritual materialism. And one sees it in these gurus and lamas who are going around nowadays, who often started out as very sincere practitioners, but then something took over. And, not in all cases by any means, but in certain cases one can see it. The demon ego completely devours them. And it's quite frightening. Frightening that they don't see it. And that they believe in their own superiority. Excuse me. So that's why I think it's very, very important to emphasize bodhicitta and the whole Lojong teachings, on the mind training and putting others before yourself. I was told recently, Drgu Chujia Rinpoche told me that one time our Tokdens, our yogis, were called by Kamta Rinpoche. And of course they are, experts in the 6 yogas of Naropa and all the most esoteric teachings they are the guardians of. And Rinpoche said, now I'm going to give you really, this is the final teaching, this is the real teaching, take this to your heart and really practice it until your dying breath. This is the real essence of the practice. So they both sort of waited, right, what they're going to get. And he gave them the 7-point mind training. And he said, this is it. If you can do this, then this is it. And that sometimes is what Westerners miss. We're doing this all for the sake of others, to drop the ego. If we can drop the ego, that's the highest thing we can possibly do. Everything is for the sake of others, out of genuine compassion and understanding. And if one can do that, then that's it. That's, that is a spiritual path. Everything else is just, polishing the metal. But this is the real gold. Otherwise, the spiritual path becomes like everything else. It's something for sale, It's not a matter of how many retreats you've done, or how many mantras you've said, or how many lamas you've met, or any of all that. It's really totally irrelevant.